Ferrari may have just discovered why Mercedes looked so dangerous before Monaco, and it has nothing to do with raw engine power. Is not the wing, is not the straight line speed, is not even just tire wear. The real advantage may be hiding inside the brake heat, the invisible temperature battle that decides whether a driver can attack the corner or protect himself from it. And that is why Ferrari is furious. Because Charles Leclerc just came out of Canada with a car he could not trust under braking. Lewis Hamilton suddenly found his best Ferrari weekend after stepping away from the simulator. And Mercedes appeared calm, stable, and confident in the exact phase of a lap where Monaco can be won before Sunday even begins. 1 degree too cold, and the brake does not bite. 1 degree too hot, and the car becomes nervous. But if Mercedes has found a way to keep that heat exactly where they want it, then Monaco stops being a race. It becomes a trap. And Ferrari may have realized the real Mercedes advantage was never hiding on the straights. It was hiding in the heat. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why Ferrari's reaction became so intense, you have to begin with the part of the car that most fans never think about until something goes wrong. Brake temperature. It sounds boring. It sounds like the kind of detail engineers talk about while everyone else watches the cars fly past the barriers. But in Formula One, brake heat is not just a number. It is the difference between confidence and fear. A brake system has to live in a very narrow world. Too cold, and the driver presses the pedal, but the car does not respond with the bite he expects. Too hot, and the feeling changes again. The car can become unstable, the tires can suffer, and the driver starts wondering whether the next braking zone will behave like the last one. And that is when the lap begins to die. Not with a crash, not with smoke, not with something dramatic. It dies through doubt. That is what made Ferrari's Canada weekend so alarming. From the outside, people saw 2 Ferrari drivers leaving with 2 different results. Hamilton looked energized. Leclerc looked wounded. It would have been easy to say one driver simply had a better weekend than the other. But that misses the deeper story, because the difference was not just speed, it was trust. Hamilton found a car that finally started to answer him. Leclerc found a car that kept asking him questions he did not want to hear. Every braking zone became a place of uncertainty. Every corner entry carried a warning. And when a driver as precise as Leclerc says he cannot trust the brakes, Ferrari cannot treat that like ordinary frustration. Leclerc is not a driver who needs perfect comfort to be fast. He has built his reputation on commitment. He can take a nervous car and drag it toward the limit. He can make a street circuit feel like a personal challenge. He can put a Ferrari close to the wall with the kind of confidence that makes other drivers look cautious. So he begins to protect himself under braking. Something serious has happened. And this is where Monaco enters the story. Because Monaco is not a normal circuit. Monaco does not give a driver space to recover from doubt. It does not give a team a wide margin to hide a weakness. It does not forgive a car that gives mixed messages under braking. The walls are too close. The corners are too tight. The rhythm is too delicate. Every braking point feels like a decision made in a room with no exits. If the driver trusts the car, he attacks. If the driver doubts the car, he loses the lap before the timing screen can explain why. That is why brake heat becomes so powerful in Monaco. At most circuits, a team can survive small temperature problems. A driver might lose time in one sector, then recover somewhere else. Strategy might create another chance. A straight might open an overtaking opportunity. A tire offset might change the race later. Monaco does not work like that. At Monaco, qualifying can become the race. Track position becomes protection. A car that starts ahead can control the pace, manage the tires, and turn the narrow streets into a wall of its own. That means one perfect lap can define everything. And one perfect lap depends on confidence. This is why Ferrari began looking at Mercedes with sharper eyes. Mercedes did not need to look spectacular to create concern. They only needed to look composed, calm under braking, stable on corner entry, predictable when the car slowed down and rotated. That kind of behavior does not always create an obvious headline, but inside a Formula One garage, it is impossible to ignore, because engineers know what it means. A stable braking phase gives the driver courage. It lets him brake later. It lets him release the pedal cleaner. It helps the front of the car find the corner while the rear stays under control. It protects the tires because the car is not sliding, snapping, or forcing corrections. In plain language, it makes the car easier to believe, and belief is lap time. That is the real Monaco advantage. Not just speed, but usable speed. Not just grip, but predictable grip. Not just braking power, but braking heat controlled well enough that the driver knows what is coming before he arrives. That is why the idea of a hidden brake heat system hit Ferrari so hard. Because if Mercedes has discovered a clever way to manage that heat, to keep the brakes and surrounding components in a better operating window, then the advantage is not just technical. It becomes emotional. It gives the driver peace. And peace inside a Formula One cockpit is rare. Imagine walking across ice while someone else walks across dry pavement. You can still move. You can still reach the other side. But every step costs you more thought, more tension, more caution. The person on dry ground does not need to be braver than you. They simply trust what is beneath them. That is what Ferrari feared. Mercedes may not need a louder engine or a more dramatic upgrade. They may only need a car that gives its driver dry pavement while Ferrari is still searching for grip on ice. Canada made that fear feel real. Leclerc's weekend showed the damage caused when braking confidence disappears. He did not only lose time, he lost the natural aggression that makes him dangerous. He was forced into survival. He had to think about risk instead of rhythm. And the cruel part is that this happened right before his home race. Monaco is supposed to be Leclerc's place of revenge. The streets are part of his identity. The pressure is enormous, but so is the opportunity. If Ferrari gives him a car he trusts, he can become one of the most dangerous drivers on the grid there. But if the brake feeling is wrong, Monaco becomes painful, because there is nowhere to hide. Every hesitation is visible. Every cautious entry is punished. Every small correction near the wall tells the world that the driver does not fully believe the machine. Ferrari knew this. And they also knew Hamilton's Canada performance had changed the internal picture. Hamilton did not just have a good weekend. He changed the method. He moved away from Ferrari's simulator preparation because he felt it was not taking him in the right direction. He trusted real data, direct engineering work, and the feeling of the actual car. And suddenly, he looked transformed. That was good news for Ferrari, but it was also uncomfortable. Because if Hamilton found performance by stepping away from a tool Ferrari depends on, then Maranello had to ask a difficult question. Was the simulator helping them understand the car, or was it hiding the truth? And if the simulator was not telling the full truth about balance, braking, tire behavior, and real track conditions, then Monaco became even more dangerous. Because Monaco is not a place where a team can arrive with theory. It demands reality. The driver either feels the car or he does not. The brakes either answer or they do not. The temperature is either in the right window or the lap disappears. That is where Mercedes' hidden brake heat advantage becomes such a serious threat in Ferrari's eyes. Because brake heat is not isolated. It connects to everything. It affects the pedal feel. It affects the tire temperature. It affects how the car rotates. It affects how much the driver trusts the rear of the car. It affects how aggressive he can be on corner entry and how cleanly he can get back to the throttle. One system, several consequences. That is how Formula One advantages become powerful. They do not always win because they do one huge thing. They win because they improve 5 small things at once. A little more confidence, a little more stability, a little better tire control, a little cleaner rotation, a little less fear near the wall. Put those together in Monaco, and the result can be devastating. Ferrari's frustration came from that exact possibility, because they were not simply watching Mercedes go faster. They were watching Mercedes potentially own the part of the lap that Ferrari had just suffered through. The same kind of area where Leclerc had lost trust. The same kind of area where Hamilton had finally found rhythm. The same kind of area Monaco rewards more than almost anywhere else. This is why the revolt was not just political noise. It was Ferrari trying to stop a question from becoming a result. If Mercedes carried a brake heat advantage into Monaco without challenge, and that advantage helped them lock the front row, the race could be gone before Ferrari had a chance to show their pace. That is the nightmare, because Ferrari had reasons to believe Monaco could suit them. The lack of long straights would reduce the pain of any power deficit. The slow and medium speed corners could reward the mechanical grip and balance Ferrari had been chasing. The track would put less emphasis on pure speed and more emphasis on precision, confidence, and the way the car behaves when the driver commits. On paper, that sounded like a Ferrari opportunity. But Monaco does not reward paper. It rewards execution. And execution begins with braking. That is why Ferrari's focus shifted toward Mercedes' system. Not because every clever idea is illegal. Formula One is built on clever ideas. Teams exist to find advantages others miss. The rule book is not just a set of limits. It is a battlefield of interpretations. But when a rival finds performance in a sensitive area, especially one connected to heat management, the rest of the paddock pays attention. Because heat is one of the invisible currencies of Formula One. Too much heat destroys. Too little heat weakens. The perfect heat gives life. A tire needs temperature. A brake needs temperature. Airflow needs control. The car is constantly trying to keep every part in the correct zone while moving at impossible speed. When a team manages heat better than others, it often unlocks performance that looks mysterious from the outside. That is what Ferrari feared Mercedes had done. Not just stop the car better. Manage the conditions that make stopping better. That difference matters. A powerful brake is useful, but a brake that stays in the right operating window, lap after lap, corner after corner, is much more valuable. It gives repeatability. It gives the driver a memory he can trust. He brakes once, the car responds. He brakes again, the response is the same. The third time, the same again. That consistency becomes courage, and courage becomes lap time. Leclerc did not have that feeling in Canada. Hamilton appeared to find more of it. Mercedes may have had even more. And Monaco was waiting. This is where the human side becomes unavoidable. Because drivers do not talk about brake heat like engineers. They talk about feeling. They say the pedal is there, or it is not. They say the car gives confidence, or it does not. They say they can attack, or they cannot. Behind those simple words are hundreds of hidden details. Temperature, balance, pressure, tire state, energy, cooling, setup. But for the driver, it becomes one question. Can I trust it? That is why Leclerc's comments after Canada mattered so much. He was not describing a car that was merely slower. He was describing a car that did not let him be himself. That is the worst kind of problem for an elite driver. Because if a car takes away your natural weapon, it does not only cost performance, it attacks identity. For Leclerc, that weapon is commitment. For Hamilton, the weapon is rhythm and feel.